Hello, my name is Kedar Ahmed, and you're watching rptv. And on today's show, we are covering a demonstration at City Hall organized by the Federation of Metro Tenants Associations in their efforts to shed light on damage done to affordable housing by mass demovictions. In a powerful demonstration on October the 2nd, 2023, the Federation of Metro Tenants Association, FMTA, led a march from Toronto City Hall to the Ontario Parliament buildings to confront the pressing issue of demovictions. This term refers to the forced evictions of tenants due to property demolition or redevelopment, a growing concern in the city. The participants aimed to shed light on the damage done to affordable housing by mass demovictions, delivering a petition to the City of Toronto for urgent action. Supported by the community housing advocates and members of Provincial Parliament, MPP Kristen Wong-Tam, the march rallied for housing rights, carrying compelling slogans and chanting for change. The event revealed commonalities between demovictions and the Regent Park redevelopment, emphasizing issues of displacement, gentrification, and housing affordability. It serves as a crucial call to action to address housing equity, gentrification, and redevelopment challenges in Toronto. And now, let's go to the demonstration.
Hi, this is Kristen Wong-Tam, and I'm the member of Provincial Parliament for Toronto Centre. I'm here at this particular rally and demonstration to support the striking tenants. The tenants are banding together. There's over 500 of them in about 5 buildings across the city that are fed up with the surging cost of rents. So they are holding a rent strike, and there are 72 more buildings on the list in the City of Toronto that could be slated for demoviction. That's when an applicant, meaning the landlord or the property owner, will file an application to rezone the property, meaning that building is coming down, which means thousands of more people are at risk of losing their home, and the housing crisis in Toronto and Ontario is just going to deepen. It's important to remember that the housing crisis is man-made. What we're seeing are economic conditions that are very punishing for tenants. So you have tenants that are facing surging rents who don't have real rent control in Ontario, and the province and especially the Premier can do something about that. There's also not vacancy control, which means that if someone moves out of a property, the next tenant to move in can be charged, much more rent. So there is no vacancy control. There's no real rent control, and that's what's going to help at least quell the housing crisis, which of course we know is growing. There's over 10,000 people in Toronto that are registered, staying in shelters, 24-hour respites, and we need to make sure that we keep that number down and reverse it as opposed to letting it grow. And that's exactly what the province is doing.
Okay. So folks, we're at this amazing rally hosted by the group No Demovictions, calling for investments in rent geared to income, a basic human right, calling for reforms at council as well as at the provincial and federal level, making sure that there's investments in housing specifically, your right to that basic human right. And there's amazing speakers that came out to represent many stakeholders, whether it was advocates or it was folks, elected representatives or residents that were impacted by very horrible policies that are leading to many residents being displaced from our community. So please get involved in this important work to push back against demovictions, which is a form of removing people from their homes, homes that they've been living in for decades. So get involved, and thank you so much for being part of this very important conversation. So in Regent Park, It's important to know that the rezoning application approved replacement units, rent geared to income, but not additional RGI units. And that means that many residents that have been on the waiting list or who want to move into our community and access the basic human right of housing are not able to do so. So we need to make sure that our councillor, Chris Moyes, our mayor, the entire city council speaks in favor of not just investing in more rent geared to income unit, but also changing policies to make sure that people are protected as well. Yeah, so Councillor Moyes at his city council town hall announced that he will not be supporting the program rent to own. I hope he clarifies that position because many residents are actually looking forward to opportunities through rent to own programs to be able to live in their community.
Let's make our voices heard so those people in that ivory tower hear us. What are we fighting for? Affordable housing! Yay! Okay. And not to forget, this weekend was Truth and Reconciliation Day. So a short land acknowledgement. We are gathered here on Indigenous land, the dish with one spoon territory. It's the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and the Confederacy, the Wendat and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We gratefully acknowledge these Indigenous nations for their guardianship of the sacred land. My name is Patty, and I live in a little oasis in the southwest corner of Toronto, and is threatened to be Canada's largest ever demoviction. And that is not something I want to be. No, I know. It's 548 units in 5 buildings that have existed peacefully in the community for 60 years. It's over 1,000 tenants. Some of them are fragile seniors on fixed income. They want to quadruple the density. And they were saying they should do the density in transit-friendly places. We are 30 minutes to Kipling Station, and it's still just Kipling Station. It's another half hour to get downtown. So it's only greedy developers that really want this density to happen in places that are just not suitable. I am now held hostage because of rent control and because of the lack of rent control. I cannot afford to move. Plus, I live in a beautiful paradise. So that's why I'm here to protest. Now over to my co-host, Megan.
My name is Megan, and I am being dem-evicted. It's an unfortunate club to be a part of. I never thought I would tell this many people where I live, but I'm being dem-evicted at 55 Brownlow Avenue, and I've lived there for 7 years. Shane. I live there with my husband and my 3 cats, and it's been a safe haven for us, especially considering the state of the rental prices at the moment. We felt like we were safe as we watched our friends and family struggle to find affordable housing. And then we found ourselves in a situation where our affordable purpose-built rental building is being demolished to build market luxury condos. Yay! And it makes me wonder, why are we doing this in the middle of a housing affordability crisis? Why are we not building on empty plots? Why are we not building on parking lots and other empty spaces? Absolutely. Yes, golf courses.
Yeah, lots of golf courses.
Which are very unsustainable. So for anybody who may be new here, doesn't know what a demoviction is, it is essentially when a tenant is displaced from their home and they are evicted so that their building can be demolished and redeveloped. And this is something that is happening across the city of Toronto. We know that there are at least 70 buildings that are having this happen to them, and we know that that number is higher. We know that that number is higher because Patty's building is not on the list that we have, which represents over 1,000 people. And that's one of the things that we're fighting for today is accurate data collection, because we actually don't know the scope of this crisis. And our group here, you'll see we're wearing these t-shirts so you can easily identify us. No Demovictions is a group of tenant associations that are fighting back against the mass demolition of affordable purpose-built rentals in Toronto. And we came together, unfortunately, for many different reasons, but I've grown quite fond of all of these people. We came together because our current housing policy is not being driven by what people want or what serves their communities or benefits them. It is being driven by how much profit can be made. And when a housing policy is driven by profit, people are going to lose every single time. The practice of demevictions is eroding our limited stock of affordable housing, and it's doing so at a time when rental vacancy in Toronto is at 1.7%. Where are these people supposed to go?
House for house. House. Nationalize the big landlords.
Demevictions and rental replacement bylaws currently force tenants to shoulder the financial burden of displacement. We constantly hear tenants should be grateful that they are being relocated into a new building, but unfortunately tenants being displaced, rent cap payments do not measure up. They do not cover the costs. They cover maybe 50%, but then tenants are forced to pay from their own pockets. Why are tenants paying to be displaced when developers should be paying the full cost of displacement? And there's one thing that's been resonating with me over the past couple of weeks, and it's that the most sustainable building is one that already exists. Right over there. This is not only a moral and an ethical issue, but it's unsustainable. Why are we destroying buildings like they are an infinite resource? Like building materials are an infinite resource. They are finite resources. We're facing a climate crisis and we need to be acting like it.
All for greed.
For greed. And so even though you may not be being demevicted, even though many of us are, at the end of the day, we all stand together because the thing that we as tenants face is the same issue. We face the same issues of rent evictions, above guideline rent increases, and just being pinched at every single turn. And the one thing that we stand together on is that corporate greed is driving our housing policy and it's eroding tenants' rights. The first thing that we're asking for is a provincial moratorium on demevictions. That we stop demevictions until we know the impact of them. Because currently we have no idea how this is going to affect affordability and the tenants that live in these buildings. The second thing that we're asking for is for a committee for demevictions, because at the end of the day, tenants need a seat at the table. We pay property taxes just like everybody else, and our voices need to be heard. We are the ones that are being most impacted and pinched by the housing crisis, and we deserve a seat at the table. And one of the most important things that overlaps with all of our issues, no matter what issue you're facing, is we need rent and vacancy control. Rent and vacancy control impacts us all in so many different ways. But the way that I view it is, even though I live in an affordable building, if I leave my apartment, they can make the rent anything they want. So it's just a matter of time before the city is completely unaffordable for everybody, unless we all hold down and stay in our apartments for the rest of our lives, which is just not reasonable for people.
And which they won't let us do.
Yes, that too. They're going to get us out one way or the other, right? And one of the last things that I think is important, because there are many points on this and I don't want to exhaust this, you can read our open letter on our website right now if you want to learn more about it. But essentially, this can happen to anybody. We all felt like we were safe in our homes in the middle of this housing crisis, and that just wasn't the case. And so one of the things that we're asking for is that when buildings go up for sale, that tenants have first right of refusal in that building for the first 6 months before it goes to the potential of a corporate landlord who's able to buy us out. Because if we had known that our building was going to be sold, we could have formed a community land trust, a co-op. We could have made sure that our housing was affordable in perpetuity, and now we've lost that opportunity. And so on that note, we're going to start with the speakers. And the first person I'm going to introduce is from 230 Fight Back. Gaetan Haro, I don't want to mispronounce your name, you can fix it. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I'll try and be very quick. My name is Gaetan Haro. I've worked at the Dundas in Sherbourne for the last 35 years, primarily around shelter conditions in housing. And during those 3 decades, we've witnessed horrendous conditions for people living in those shelters and people who are having to set up encampments. And I want to say that because a lot of people right now who are facing evictions through demo evictions and through high rents that are going up, through rent controls and all that kind of stuff that are not there, that's where you wind up because that's where a lot of the services were. So I want to say it's important to fight around this stuff.
Yes!
About 18 months ago, the city bid on a property called 214-230 Sherburne. And actually I see Krista Wantam over here, who was actually very instrumental in working with us in trying to get the property expropriated. So I want to thank her for the work that she did. She's now with the province. And what happened is the city bid on the property, but they were outbid by a company, a private equity company called Kingset Capital. CEO is John Love. Some of us have Kingset Capital in common. So we're organizing to stop. They want to build a 47-tower condo on the property. We are saying no goddamn way is that condo going up there. If people know that area at all, it's one of the oldest working class neighborhood in the city, and we're losing a whole bunch of housing. Just to give you a sense what's happening in our area, and I know some of you know because you live a little north. If you walk along Church to Parliament, there are 11 condo developments. 4 of them are completed. Over 6,300 condos, 24 units of affordable housing. Do you know they're pouring in over $3 billion along that corridor, just along that corridor. It's a 2.2 corridor. I encourage anybody to walk there and see what's happening. And I walked over in the north end around 519, Maitland and Isabella, and I met some people. That's actually where I met Lindsay, and I see that stuff is going on there. So we're fighting for that. We want the city to negotiate with Kingset so we can have that for social housing, and it's really important. The last thing I'll say, I'm so happy that we connected up with Demoviction, because you see so much on the news now. So a lot of stuff around what's going on, around rent strikes, around rent controls, and we need to speak to each other. And it's so encouraging to see this today. So I just want to say there are 2 events that are happening. One tomorrow, it's going to be at the Transact Club, which is Brunswick and Bloor. So please show up. And the last thing also is we're having an event on November 8th. This is the last thing I'll finish with. And on November 8th, John Love, who's the CEO of Kingset, is getting this huge award called Business Leader of the Year by all these developers and businesses. So the gala is taking place at the Royal York. They're charging anywhere between $10,000 to $25,000 per table to attend that. So we intend to be outside on that day, and the message we're going to send, and I hope that you all come and keep an eye out, is we won't be pushed out. And last thing, I've been meeting some people now who are facing their buildings have been bought, and it just breaks my heart. And I remember when I met this woman, Betty Robinson, in the summer. She got evicted in the summer of, or the 150 seniors got evicted by Kingset in the summer of 2019, and it was awful to watch.
Okay.
Thank you, my name's Jordy. I'm with the Federation of Metro Tenants Associations. About 80 years ago, we were going through a grinding housing crisis. What did people do? Veterans took over the Hotel Vancouver. They demanded it be turned into housing. Veterans took over the barracks across from the Prime Minister's 24 Success Drive residence and said, you got to turn this into social housing. People need housing. It should be 20% of our income, and we're not going to stop until you build housing. Government did it. It worked. It worked. We, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of units were built across the country. We had pretty decent housing for a long time. Well, some populations did. And then 80 years, we're right back where we are. We're back to fighting. We're back to trench warfare on the ground. Yesterday, I said we're coming back. We've got a big rent strike happening right now. A couple big rent strikes happening across the city. Some people are saying it's the largest rent strike in our history. And part of the reason why this is happening is yesterday, one of the leaders of the rent strike was asked, a lot of people are talking about housing right now. A lot of people are talking about solutions to housing. What's missing from that? You know what they said? Us, tenants. We're missing from that. You're not listening to us. You're not taking our needs into consideration. So when you're demolishing a rental building, again, where are those people going to go? The Premier's own housing task force has said we've got enough land. We've got enough land to build on, we just need to start building. And part of the problem is they're refusing to do that. Why are they refusing to do that? The second thing that you don't hear often is that there's a bunch of people making a lot of money. We've all been watching the Greenbelt fiasco. The mask is off. We know what's happening here. All right, the thing that never gets mentioned is profit. It has been an absolute bonanza for landlords in this city over the last 10 years. They are raking in the money. The developers are raking in the money. They're popping the champagne, they're opening the caviar, and they're doing it at our expense. This is what has to stop. All right, policy, again, 80 years ago we fought, and we got policy built for our population, we got housing built for our population, we got housing built for everyone in the, mostly everyone in the country. There are some groups that were left out of that we need to address. But the point being is that we can get there again. How are we gonna get there again? The same way we're doing it today. We're going to go brick by brick, we're going to go door by door, we're going to go building by building, step by step. And we're going to keep pushing back until they start building housing for places for people to live in, instead of just throwing us into the streets and asking us to fend for ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jordy. The next person is actually one of my fellow tenants at 55 Brownlow Avenue.
Hello everybody, and thank you for attending this afternoon. I'm here to share... Hi everybody, thank you for being here this afternoon or this evening. I really appreciate your support. My, I guess, speech is going to be slightly different. I know, which is fantastic, you're going to hear about a lot of numbers, a lot of information, but I'm actually here just to talk about one thing only. Not about a unit, about my home. Like, people mention it as an apartment, they say it's a unit, they say it's a building. It's actually my home. This is where I live. This is where I put my key in the front door. The pictures on the wall, that's my family. When people come for Christmas dinner, they're coming to my home. This isn't a unit. You can't just pretend that we don't exist. We are real people, real lives, real homes. It trickles down, it affects everybody. So I thank everyone for standing here with us today to save our homes.
Save our homes. Thank you for your support. Okay, so we have two coming up from the Don Valley Community Legal Services, Laura and Carly. Are they here?
Hi everyone, I'm Laura Nonan from Don Valley Community Legal Services, and I'm a community development worker. I'm on the front lines and talking to tenants and community members who are facing demoviction. And this is my colleague Carly Wilson, who's a housing lawyer, and she's going to talk to you about what we're seeing. And thanks so much, Laura. I'm going to read from a speech because this is important and I want to get my words right. So in our clinic, in the 2 years that I've been working for the legal clinic, we have seen a 30% increase in cases of either renovictions or demovictions since 2021. That is a 30% increase in our neighbors being forced out of their homes for no fault of their own. A 30% increase in landlords and developers breaking apart communities to improve their assets. A 30% increase in the use of a legal mechanism that openly prioritizes profits over housing security. Our legal clinic serves a large and eclectic swath of the city, one that we are committed to protecting, but the uphill battle to keep our communities together keeps getting steeper. In our catchment area alone, there are at least 13 buildings facing demovictions right now. That is nearly 800 rent-controlled units that are going to be taken down, displacing what we estimate to be over 1,000 tenants. They're going to be evicted into an unprecedented housing crisis where we are losing affordable housing way faster than we are creating it. When these demovictions are approved by the city and then condoned by the province, there is no legal defense against them. We receive calls on our intake line every day from frightened tenants, much like a lot of people here, who've received a single piece of paper telling them they don't have a home anymore. As lawyers, we are painfully limited in what we can do to stop this displacement from happening, and there's little we can say to console our clients when the legal landscape has been in constant flux. Even though the province has ignored our housing recommendations in the past, most recently during our submissions on Bill 97, we insist on advocating for our clients and protecting our diverse community. We ask that the city and the province place a moratorium on demovictions to stop the bleeding. To stop
stop the bleeding of this housing crisis, and we ask for both levels of government to maintain that moratorium until we see a return of rent control and vacancy control to the province and to the city. We need tenants to have some kind of hope of creating a lasting, sustainable tenancy regardless of when their building was built. We need families to be able to grow and have the option to move to suitable housing without the crushing fear of their rent tripling because they moved across the street. In short, we need our government to take action to ensure that our community is livable, sustainable, and protected. Thank you all so much. Good evening, everyone. How are you all doing? Here to send a loud message to the folks who are hopefully listening. My name is Naziat Allahim, and I'm so excited to be here today on behalf of CUPE Ontario and over 280,000 workers across the province. I'm also a rank and file member of CUPE Local 79. I'm a youth worker primarily working in St. Jamestown. Our local is made up of City of Toronto workers, so speaking today to you in front of City Hall, where so many of our members work, is special. It is truly inspiring to see a group of tenants come together to build, organize, and to resist. I know that many, if not most of you, are just normal, everyday people who are politicized and forced to get together by the abysmal state of housing in our province. Make no mistake, the housing crisis is real. It's real, and we see it and feel it across Ontario, and especially here in our city, everywhere we look. I hear it from CUPE Local 79 members when I talk to them. Folks who are members of our union with decent salaries and collective bargaining power behind them are struggling to make ends meet. As the cost of housing continues to skyrocket, and inflation is making everyday items simply unaffordable. Today, the minimum wage rose to a whopping $16.55.
Yay! Big deal!
While a living wage is $23 an hour, and the rental wage is $34 an hour. Minimum wage falls far, far below what folks need to survive so they don't end up on the streets.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out. You all give yourselves a round of applause. I am a tenant from 25 St. Mary. We were the first building to go down, the largest structurally sound, fully occupied building in the history of the city of Toronto.
Shame on them.
Shame on them. Over 50% of our tenants are seniors. We have people with disabilities. We have people with chronic conditions. We have families. We have people on fixed incomes, people who will not qualify for another home in their community. I myself am an 18-year cancer survivor. I've had 19 surgeries and a recurrence that's coming up. I need to stay near my hospital. We have a diverse community, and after forming No Demovictions, we were able to get some more concessions with the other buildings. So there's no reason why we can't continue to get progress in this area. So thank you very much for coming out, and let's hope we can keep our homes.
Yes, 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 yes.
Housing is a human right, not a privilege.
That's right.
Thank you, Annette. We're going to pass it off to Attica from Climate Justice TO. Yay!
Hi everyone. So I was scrolling Instagram and I saw this post by the City of Toronto that stopped me in my tracks. It said, "Stopping the climate crisis starts at home. Properly insulate your home." Now this angered me because we know that climate change and housing are connected systemic issues, yet our government continues to place the responsibility on individuals. People are currently being demevicted and are being told a lie where developers are pretending they have the solution to housing. There are buildings that do need repairs, however, greedy developers are using this as an excuse to demolish these buildings to bring quote-unquote green luxury condos for profit. They are responsible for displacing thousands of tenants in the city, yet they claim to have the solutions. How is that in that Montreal has passed a law where developers have to build a percentage of housing that is affordable or pay a fine, and they chose to pay the fine? Boom! They have sent a clear message. They don't care about working class people, they want profit. Enough of these individual and greenwashing actions. We need to build collective power. Climate Justice Toronto has been working with the York Southwestern Tenant Union on their rental strikes. Tenants at these buildings are standing up to Dream Unlimited, where they've been facing ridiculous rent increases, and their developer has chosen to offload the cost of toothless climate actions to working class people. Shame. Recently, 1440 and 1442 Lawrence West has joined the rent strike because their built environments, their homes, are infested with rats and bed bugs, so much so that Canada Post refuses to deliver this mail. Wow. Shame. Their landlord, Barney River Investments, refuses to do repairs while continuing to increase the rent through above guideline increases. Shame. We are saying no. People deserve to live in clean and healthy environments that are affordable and are rent geared to income and safe.
Yes.
Climate justice is housing justice, and the time to build collective power is now. We are seeing this power being built across the city. We see it today. And I call on environmental organizations and housing organizations to continue to join together to build this power. Working class power is the solution.
Yes,
Thank you.
All right. And the last speaker that we have before we're going to do a little wrap up here and start marching over to Queen's Park is Waleed from the Coalition for Equitable Housing Development.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful turnout. I just want to thank our friends from Demovictions for bringing us together. So let's give a shout out to our friends from Demovictions. And again, thank you. This would have not been possible if they didn't work so hard to get the message out about the crisis that we all know is so real. If you didn't have access to a good job, if you lost your job during the pandemic, if you didn't have access to a shelter, and so many people don't have access to a safe shelter, you were left to the streets. And that means our governments have failed. They have failed at the federal level, they have failed at the provincial level, and they're also failing in the municipal level. And I'll tell you that the Coalition for Equitable and Inclusive Development, and I'm with also the Regent Park Neighborhood Association, and this coalition has neighborhood associations, grassroots organizations, residents just like you that want to make sure that our governments don't just get it right now, but never get it wrong again. So you're here in support of a basic human right, the right to housing. It's a basic right, just like healthcare, just like any other basic human right. And what's sad is our representatives are not being accountable. They're not being accountable to you, and they're not being accountable to themselves. Acorn, our good friends in Acorn, in the last municipal election cycle, did a report, and the report was damning. It's pretty bad. You should read it if you're interested. 34% of Toronto City Council donors have real estate development ties. So when we're talking about building housing, the question you should ask yourself is, building housing for whom? Okay? When we say we want affordable housing, What we say is we want rent geared to income. We're not saying 80% of market or 60% of market. That is ridiculous. In my community of Regent Park, we had the biggest opportunity to build deeply affordable housing in our city. And this is going to be a test to our current mayor, Olivier Chow, and every councillor that claims to be progressive. Put the money into rent-geared income. Stop taking money from for-profit developers that are building housing that is inaccessible to all of us. That is what we need, a commitment from everyone that claims to represent you. So meet up with every MPP or city council or whoever showed up today and ask them the tough questions.
They're not here.
Where do you stand when it comes to building rent geared to income? Okay? The last thing that I want to say is that this is such a critical time for all of us. If we don't take action now, and I just want to let you know, the last city council cycle where they approved all these developments, my heart sank. My heart sank because less than 1% of the projects that were approved were so-called affordable housing. And you know what they claim to be affordable? Limited affordable. Something we call tenured affordable. Affordable for 20 years. Affordable for 40 years. Maybe that's amazing. You got 40 years? Affordability should be for perpetuity. Should be forever. Not temporarily so you can make money and make side deals with these greedy developers. And there's no such thing as a progressively wonderful developer. There's no such thing. All developers care about is money.
That's right.
What we care about is basic human rights. So today, while you walk towards Queen's Park, and you're going to embarrass Doug Ford, that's for sure, you need to remind the official opposition, everyone that stands in solidarity saying, what legislation are you putting in to make sure that our elections are actually democratic? Right? When you hear 34% are tied, who's paying for the campaigns? Right? Is it Zenobia or Fritzovia? Is that the name? Fritzovia, I think is the name. Is it Kenset? Who are these greedy developers? We need to call them out and we need to shame them into either doing the right thing or stepping out of the way. Okay? So let's ask the tough questions when we get to Queen's Park. Remember, you're not just fighting for us. You're fighting for the future of this city. You're fighting for whether we will have gentrification expand across the city of Toronto, pushing racialized and indigenous people out of the city. Because guess who's going to be able to afford it to live in the city? It's going to be the rich. And that's not what the city of Toronto is all about. It's about all of us. So I'm going to conclude with this wonderful slogan. It's all of us or none of us. 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 Solidarity from the Coalition of Equitable Inclusive Development. You are all wonderful, beautiful souls, and keep on the important fight for affordable housing. Thank you.
Shame, 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 shame.
I guess that's what you're supposed to do. But I didn't, and I kind of regret
United will never be divided. People matter more than profit. Tell me what solidarity looks like. This is what solidarity looks like. Tell me what.
More than profit. More than profit. Human rights. Profits. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? People over profits. When do we want it? Now. What do we want?
People over profits.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
People over profits.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Affordable housing.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Affordable housing.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Affordable housing.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Affordable housing.
Will never be divided. The people united will never be divided. What do we want? When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want? When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want? When do we want it?
Now.
Are they going to hear about it?
Yes.
Hear about it a little bit?
Yes.
Oh, they're going to hear about it a lot. Are they going to hear about it a lot? We're going to talk more about stopping and protecting tenants' rights to affordable housing.
So what do we call developers? Greedy. What do we call developers? Greedy. What do we call them developers? Greedy. And what do we want? Tenants' rights. Tenants' rights. And now.
Expropriate the landlord.
Okay, so we are here because the province is a cause of a lot of the problems that we're all experiencing. They are centralizing power, as I'm sure you know, at the province for decisions that used to be made at a municipal level. So, shame! So we're here to demand that the province takes action on demevictions and fulfills their duty of care to the people of Ontario. The province has systematically removed protections for tenants and eroded their rights over the past 5 years.
Thanks.
I've already said that. But more and more power has been concentrated in the hands of fewer and fewer people, and away from municipalities who have the closest connection to the needs of their constituents. So the thing that we're asking for from the province is a moratorium on demevictions.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Jeff, and I am a tenant organizer. I'm also a tenant. These things matter to everybody in the city. Whether you own, whether you rent, this matters to all of us, trust me. It's great to see everybody here today. I know there's a lot that's been going on. We've had a lot of actions over the past month for healthcare, for Indigenous rights, for migrant workers. There's a lot going on. And tenant rights are just one of those things. We've been organizing around demevictions for the past 10 months. It's all led to this moment here. But this is not the first time demevictions have come up in history. It's been a long time coming that we confront the greed that the capitalist class shows when they take their housing from us like this. Demevictions are everything wrong with our housing system rolled into one. We don't have rent control. We don't have security of tenure. That's right. The UN says that housing as a human right is based on the security of tenure for the tenants.
Okay, you guys are awesome. Okay, you guys are awesome because we are organizing and you are part of it and you are leading it. And the reason why this is so important is because you're not just fighting for your homes, you're fighting for the affordability of this city.
Yes.
And when we look at the headlines, you know, in the Globe and Mail and online, it tells a story that the housing market is doing very well indeed. The developers are doing fine, that investor landlords are having their profits go up and up and up.
Shame.
Pension plans, profit continues. But there is a different story that needs to be told, and it's the story of people who rent in this province. Because our income makes their profit. So when we are having difficulty paying the bills because our rent has gone up, we're losing and they're gaining, and that is a shame. And that needs to change. Yeah. It is not acceptable that Doug Ford is making it easier for perfectly good buildings being torn down and replaced with luxury condos that no one can afford.
That is a shame, and it needs to stop. Does it need to stop? Yes. And what I have noticed, having worked in this building with my colleagues for 5 years now, is that the laws in this province are not set up to help renters. No.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you so much. We're so pleased to have your support and your enthusiasm for our rights. Next up is Alejandra she's the chair of the East York chapter with Acorn Toronto. Alejandra.
So hi everybody, I'm so happy to be here. We have been working for a long time and always the same song, that we don't have affordable housing and that we don't have protection. So this needs to stop, but I want to remind everybody that the only way that this can start is remind ourselves that we, the people, own the city. So we're going to do a little bit of exercise because we walk a lot, isn't it? I don't know if you feel a little bit tired. I do. So what about when I say no, you say that, I say no, you say Demovictions. Then I say Demovictions, say no. You know, a little game until you relax a little bit, and then I go to the real deal. Okay, so no. Demolitions. Demolitions. No. Demolitions. No. Demolitions. No. No. Demolitions. Demolitions. No. Demolitions. No. No. Demolitions.
My name is Marcella Thompson. I live at 48 Grenoble Drive in Flemington Park, Flemington. Okay, we the people, for the people, are standing here in solidarity today to stop the pandemic of greed. Some people are calling it business, but this is greed. Let's call it what it is, greed. It is sweeping our city to stop the evictions and demolitions of the homes of tenants. The only homes tenants can afford today. The only vaccine that we have to eliminate this pandemic are our voices. Let's raise our voices so the people we have elected to support us to listen, who will not listen to us. We are not activists or revolutionists, but we are people who want to be acknowledged, not as second, third, or fourth-class citizens, but people who have contributed and are still contributing to this city and this province. We all, I don't care where you're from, but we all deserve the respect that was and is promised by the people who we have elected, who we have put in different offices of the government. We are not asking, no, we are demanding that they come together to stop this pandemic of demolition and evictions and greed. Not tomorrow, not next year, not when we can afford this affordable housing. We want it now. What do you, the people of Toronto, say? Now. Let's say now. Let's say now, now, now. Thank you.
I feel like you should have dropped the microphone after that. Thank you, Marcella. Now we're going to just pass it over to Karen Andrews, who's with the Advocacy Centre of Tenants Ontario, or ACTO, as they are more well known.
Thank you very much. I'm a lawyer at ACTO, but not in the pejorative sense. I have been doing housing for 30 years since I was a law student at Parkdale Community Legal Services. I started when I was 10. I never saw a dirty trick eviction. I never saw this until we elected Mike Harris. And we need to remember this. And when I started, I visited people in their homes in Parkdale. They lived in decent places. They could feed their children on social assistance. And that is all changed. Now, we, as I think Megan has eloquently spoken of, we have lost rent control, effective rent control. And this is when the gamesmanship began. Lawyers want tenants out of their communities and out of their units. They want more rent. They want more market rent. They think they are somehow losing money. They're not losing money. They're making a lot of money. They're stopping renovictions and demolitions will slow their avarice. It will not eradicate it. So what we're talking about is greed. Now, how do you get people out of their apartments? Well, I had the misfortune of helping a friend of mine look for housing, and we went down the street. There was a little house for sale, and I said to the real estate agent, well, I'm interested in buying the house. There are tenants. These are the rents. The house won't carry. He said, that is easy. You just tell the tenants that you are renovating. So that is what is out there. That is what is known. 71,000 people have looked at the LTB website on this ground of eviction in 2022. 71,000 people have looked at this literature on the website. Now, there are ways to defeat this. And there's a little town in British Columbia, New Westminster, out of Vancouver. And they brought in a bylaw, and they said, if you want to demo, if you want to reno, you have to rehouse the tenant at the same conditions that they have now. And guess what?
No more renovation.
They stopped renovating and evicting in New West. They stopped. Now, there are approaches. Toronto can do it. Hamilton can do it. Every municipality in Ontario can do it. And I do want to, I'm old here, right? And there was a Trudeau before Justin. And it was the old man. And the old man used to talk about the just society. And when I grew up, we talked about the just society, the social contract, the public good. And we do not hear that anymore. Do this. Thank you very much.
Calling in Bushra from the Climate Emergency Unit. Is she here? Bushra? Okay. So we'll go on. Next is, we have again, two of our own tenants from 145 St. George, Pat and Rebecca.
This is the response I got from City Hall when I asked them, why are they going to put 45 to 5,500 people? I never got an answer. All I got was them wandering around, getting a drink of water, looking at their phones and talking. They didn't even listen to us. They didn't give a hoot. And as far as I'm concerned, the government works for us. We don't bloody well work for them. And we built this city, not them, not the developers. And I think the developers, what countries do they come from? They come not doing this in their own countries, but they come here and do it to ours. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
We should remove the government we have from office and get somebody else in who is not inept, who cares and knows what they're doing. It's not brain surgery, for crying out loud. All you need to do is care. And that's what we need. Thank you.
That is one of the hardest acts to follow. And we all know how much Pat has put into this already. I'm Rebecca. I'm also being evicted with Pat and my neighbors here. I just wanted to say this isn't about me. A lot of people have said a lot of elements today. We want everyone here to follow up. We want you to sign the petitions, know that we're going to keep going. That's the big takeaway, because it's not just about me. It's not just about my 200 neighbors in my apartment building. It's not about the 10,000 tenants that are in the 70 apartment buildings right now that have applications in. It's about all those future thousands and thousands of tenants to come. This is a real, it's beyond an emergency, and there's something we can do about it right now. We can stop demevictions. We can save 10,000 homes. I don't want to hear about how you're adding 1 to 2 family units here and there. We can save 10,000 homes and discourage thousands and thousands of other demevictions. So, bring back rent control and, all right, what is our chant? No.
Demoviction.
No.
Demoviction.
No.
Demoviction.
Demevictions.
No.
Demevictions.
No.
Okay, and then next we have my MPP, who's been really supportive of us going through this process, Dr. Jill Andrew. Keep it going. Okay, let's go.
So the first thing I want to say is thank you.
To every single person who is out here this evening, I know you have other places you could be, family to take care of, the cats, yes, I'm a cat person too, children to get ready for tomorrow, yourselves to eat. Maybe some of you are hungry here this evening. So I want to say thank you to all of the organizations. I want to say thank you to my own folks and community in Toronto St. Paul's, No Demovictions, to all of you all who are here raising your voice on your lawn, outside of your house, Queen's Park. Our house! Whose house? Our house! Right? Demanding a basic right to have a home.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes.
I tell you, Doug Ford has a home, and he has no problem affording it. Woo! The Minister of Housing has a home, and he has no problem affording it. Yet we have people here this evening who are a few bucks away from experiencing homelessness.
Yes.
Why? Because the Doug Ford government does not respect our right to housing as a human bloody right. Rent control. How simple would it be to help keep Ontarians housed? Understand the Doug Ford government has the power to reinstate real rent control on every unit, on every building. That's how we help keep people housed. That's why we put forth legislation. Bill 48, I believe it was called. Rent control for all. He is not listening. But I'll tell you something. We sank him on the greenbelt. We sank him on the greenbelt. And I am certain that we can sink him again on housing. Because the bottom line is, we can't be successful. No one here can be successful. Yeah, resign Doug Ford. Fire him tomorrow. Couldn't happen fast enough. None of us can be successful if we don't have a place to lay our heads.
That's right.
Some of us in this audience have experienced homelessness. We have experienced couch surfing with family. Good family, bad family, what have you. Nothing can happen without housing. You can't go to work on time, you can't get mail, you can't get the job interview. Where do you bring the groceries? Where do you get the groceries? Right? So we need to have housing. We need to have rent control now. Yesterday. And I'll just say this before I wrap up. A couple of years ago, I fought to try to ban above guideline rent increases, especially during the pandemic, at a time when, I'll watch my French, when predatory landlords were putting forth, frankly, illegal AGIs. And the Doug Ford government said no. We'll keep on him for that as well too. I also want to mention that I've got residents right here from Toronto St. Paul's who have had to leave our community. That's the thing here. It's about displacement. Have had to leave their community because their rent went from $2,500 to $3,500. They asked the landlord a question. Then he comes back with $9,500 for a 2-bedroom in St. Paul's. It can't happen. So I want to say to all of you, we will keep fighting. I know you all are going to keep fighting. We have to work on this together. And we have to remember, it is about housing, it is about a home, it is about having stability. And every Ontarian deserves that. Not just
at Queen's Park, we have 3 MPPs here from the NPP. Give them a big hand for showing up, for caring, and supporting us. So we do have the open letter, which I would like now to give to Kristen Wong to accept on her behalf. Did you want to say? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all the organizers, to each and every single one of you. I've just received a letter that will be handed to Premier for tomorrow when we go back into the House. I will make sure that you know that he gets it on his desk. I will put it in his hands, and I will tell him that even though he wasn't here tonight to receive the letter, is that you're bringing it to him. Yes, I will take that picture, and I will make sure you guys get a copy of it too. You know, thank you to my colleague and good friends Jill Andrew as well as Jessica Bell, 2 extraordinary MPPs I have the privilege of working with at Queen's Park. Thank you to my comrades. As the official opposition, we work so hard to make sure that your voices are heard in this building, to try to hold the government to account, to make sure that they can actually grow a heart and do the right thing, because I don't know about them, but the stories that I've heard just here tonight and at City Hall, that's enough to move you. And unless you have a piece of coal in your heart, you gotta be moved. And that's what I say. You know, the challenges that we have in this city are significant, and we know what they are. You're here raising those concerns right now. It's about the lack of rent control. It's about the lack of vacancy control. It's about the running amok of predatory lending and predatory capitalism, about how corporate landlords are taking advantage of the poor, as well as the tenants who have no rights. It's about our Airbnbs and so rent gentrification. All of those things are making life more unaffordable. It is causing people to fall into the margins further. It's creating encampments. It's creating underhousing. It's also creating a massive housing crisis that will be almost impossible to dig ourselves out of unless we take action as soon as possible, as soon as today, as soon as tomorrow. And I want you to know that you have power. You do have power. I have seen it with my eyes what happens when we have tenants, as well as activists, as well as educators, as well as unionists, as well as everyone in civil society, healthcare workers, the construction workers, every single one of you. When we come together, we build this province. That's who is building this province. And we saw Doug Ford in this 1 year retreat on 2 occasions. One, when he tried to remove the right to strike of education workers. He had to backpedal so fast. Legislation introduced on a Thursday, repealed on a Monday. And because of you, we are now seeing him running so far and fast, hiding from the scandals and the corruption of the Greenbelt. That is because of you. You have been tireless in making sure that you have honest and accountable government. You do have power. Over 50% of Torontonians are renters. That is a revolution ready to happen. And I want to invite each and every single one of you to join us in the House. I want to invite you right into Queen's Park. Come with us one day. We won't choose the date. We won't work with you to choose the date that you want to come in. We're going to recognize you, each and every single one of you by name. We're going to read your name into the record. And we are going to ask the Premier, when can we see real rent control, vacancy control in Ontario? When is he going to stop the speculation of land bankers? When is he going to stand for tenants? When? We will ask him in question period. You will be there to hear his answer. And if you don't like it, you can make some noise. And if they think they can evict all of you from this house, they don't have enough security guards. I know I'm going to have a conversation with the Legislative Protective Services tomorrow when they review the video, but I don't care because your homes are at stake and
it louder and bigger and bring it into the House. Are you with me? Yes. Are you coming into Queen's Park this October? Are you going to bring your neighbors and friends? You are going to come into the House because you own it. This is yours. Thank you very much to all the organizers.
Okay, there's no way I can follow that, but we're basically finishing up. That was the last of our speakers. Such an amazing note to end this on. I just want to say thank you so much to every single person who came out. I'm not going to read through the lengthy list again of everyone who signed the open letter, but thank you so much to everybody who supported us. We are so grateful to not only have your support, but be able to connect with people who are struggling with the same issues we are, and starting to work together to support you in your actions and you coming to support us in ours. It means the world to us. So thank you for supporting us, caring about our cause, amplifying our work, being here, taking time out of your busy lives to be here. I just want you to give yourselves a big round of applause before we end. And then just some housekeeping stuff. For anybody who has signs, we like to be sustainable. These signs have been used at more than 4 protests so far. So before you leave, if you can leave them by this post sign here, that would be really fantastic. And then Marcella is a natural-born activist, I think. Oh, she is. And she would like to lead us in We Are the Champions. If anybody would like to join in, you know the song. Marcella's going to lead us. It's a good way to head out.
Before we go into our song, I'd like to thank all of the seniors like myself who are here today. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts, because you know, it is so hard on you. It is hard on us that we who are living below the poverty line, because we are all on fixed income now, can stand and say that we are standing together for a good cause. Do not put yourselves down. Rise up and stand, because together we will win this race. We are strong together. Okay, we are the champions, my friends. And we'll keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No more eviction. We are the champions of the world. Thank you for coming. Next time, we will be bigger. Bring your friends, bring your neighbors, bring your enemies.
Okay, sure, everyone's invited.
Don't forget to scan the buttons or stickers so you have the ability to sign the petition. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also follow us on social media, and for more information, check out our website.